Teddy Covers coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Our man Teddy in the house. We saw his first looks on the card yesterday. I'm excited to see if there are more. Teddy Covers, welcome to the show, my friend. All right, I missed the audio there, but we're going to get the audio packed up. I did see a smile, which is great. Teddy, let's move on to Game 7 World Series. Scherzer, Greinke. I like Poppy's look on the first 5 over. I like his. I really want to hear what you think of Scherzer. Guy couldn't get out of bed 2 days ago. He wears a neck brace on the airplane. He gets shot up with cortisone. And then, do we trust Greinke the second time through the lineup? These are the main answers I have to ask for you. Teddy Covers, Scherzer, Greinke. Whom do you trust, if any?
I think I was mute. That was my issue. So sorry. What I said was, hi, Jimmy. How are you today? Scherzer and Greinke tonight. Let's start with this. We're not going to make picks based on starting pitching. That being said, there's a huge, in my opinion, starting pitching edge for Washington tonight. Scherzer's a bulldog. All right. If he's going, and he's going to give everything that he has, and we know what Scherzer's capable of doing. All right. Greinke is not a pitcher that we trust in big games, flat out. You know, the guy with anxiety issue is not the guy that I want with Game 7 in his hands, especially not with the Nationals bats finally waking up last night, and especially in a series with absolutely no home field advantage. So I'm Nats or pass a priori in this game. I'm not going to lay a price with any team in a series where the home field has been a disadvantage, not an advantage. And I understand all that's rear view mirror. But if I got Scherzer at a plus price, that's the only way I can look in this one.
That makes sense. And to the total, it opened up 7 at Pinnacle, now 7.5. Do you think this goes over, judging on, just your breakdown of a mentally unsound Greinke? Do you think this goes over?
I wouldn't play it under because I've got concerns about both starting pitchers. I'm assuming Scherzer's going to be, they wouldn't put him out there if he couldn't go. That being said, if he's not right, they're going to, it's not like Scherzer's going to get pulled in the second, I don't think. But in a Game 7 situation, everybody's available, So, rallies don't get a chance to develop, so you don't have a lot of big innings. So, it's a 1 run here and 2 runs there, and you don't get that, any of the crooked numbers on the scoreboard that you want to see when you're betting over. So it's really not a total I'm even close with, Jimmy. I can understand the over money. I can understand not trusting the starters, but I don't see a lot of rallies in this game. And if you're putting up 1s and 2s, it's not always easy to get over even 7 or 7.5.
Do you think we'll see an appearance from Garrett Cole in tonight's game?
Wouldn't shock me in the slightest. I wouldn't. I think everybody is available tonight, even the guys that went last night if they need them. I would not be surprised at all to see Cole in this game.
And there's Hal Abraham saying, I think we see Garrett Cole by the 2nd or 3rd inning. If that happens, then those Nationals backers are going to feel good. All right, let's move on to NBA. Lost my first quarter Hawks by a half point. A Kevin Huerter missed foul shot.
So I was watching that. I was watching the first guy. And normally I'm not a huge first quarter guy, but I was sweating it out with you on that one, Jimmy. I really was. And then they tied it up early in the second too. It was 32 all in the second. I'm like, damn, you just missed that. But then after that, Trae Young got hurt, and the Hawks were toast after that.
They sure were. And, that happens with first quarter. It's funny because NHL I'm so close to. I played it all my life. And the first periods give me enormous anxiety. I get so uncomfortable. It's not fun for me. But first quarters in basketball, for some reason, it's different. And I love the excitement of caring so much about those 12 minutes. Let's get into NBA. I've only made one move. Now, we have talked about each of these 11 games quickly. And we're going to break them down more on the late show. Oh, and there's Nilo. Wow. Greinke in the over, locked in $100 on the first 5 over 2. Wow. Good luck, Nilo. With this spot, at this point, I have 2 leans, and the only move I did make was on the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that you've had a very nice read on so far this year. Have you made any moves on this NBA card?
I sure have. I made a bet on the Bulls -2 at Cleveland. I don't know if you guys were watching the Bulls and the Knicks the other night. The Bulls had that game in control, and they let it get away at the end. And to a man, they were not happy. And they're talking about, hey, we're a playoff. We want to be a playoff team this year. We got to win these games. I'm expecting that intensity level from Chicago tonight. And I think Chicago's a good step or two ahead of Cleveland. So at this stage of the development of the two teams. I thought the price was very reasonable in a game that I think the Bulls are going to bring that max level intensity. I laid 2 with Chicago. And I can't talk myself out of it. I'm on the Suns tonight against the Warriors. Golden State shot lights out in New Orleans the other night. Absolutely. I mean, they didn't miss for extended stretches of that ballgame. They won the rebounding battle by 20, which is not something the Warriors are going to do on a night in, night out basis this season. Their bench played great. I'm anticipating Golden State's defensive issues to be an ongoing problem. And I'm looking at Phoenix, 4-0 ATS right now. This is a team every day, every game, Phoenix, until proven otherwise. Even the game they lost to the Jazz that night, I don't know how many guys were watching that game. The Suns were fighting. They were making good play. They didn't get calls, which may be a problem here. But Phoenix is bringing it. That's a bet-on team right now. I took the 5 with the Suns in Golden State. I thought Chicago was the stronger of the two plays. About 1.5 units on the Bulls as opposed to a regular unit play on Phoenix. That's what I got. And I'm tempted by Portland. The money moved the wrong way on Portland, so I haven't gotten there. And I don't know if the Collins injury worries me, so I'm probably not going to get there with the Blazers. That was another one that was on my short list. And I was tempted by Sacramento. I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to lay 7.5 with the Kings. They're just not the team. I'm not comfortable asking them to win by margin and close out a game just yet. But I certainly lean in that direction tonight. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Sacramento crushes them.
I love that because you just answered a couple of questions that I was going to ask you for leans that I had. As with the Portland Trailblazers over the last few years, as their road trips go on, I like them less and less. I feel like they deteriorate because they're so guard heavy that they deteriorate over long trips. So I'm happy that you decided not to make a move there because I will too. And then I was interested in these Hornets at 7.5, and hearing you liking the Kings can easily get me off of that as well. Perfect. That's absolutely perfect. But I'd love to hear what you think of me pulling the trigger on the Bucks at the Celtics. Now, I love what Marcus Smart is doing. This is a happy Celtics team. But with these injuries to the Celtics front court, I do not know how they compete against the Bucks here, and I think they're in big trouble. I'm on the Bucks -3. I also like the Bucks not playing that well against the Cavs. Sure, they turned it on the last 6 minutes. I like that the Bucks lost against Phoenix. They're not playing that well early in the year. I think they come in sharp and focused. I'm on the Bucks -3. Why are you not?
Because I'm not looking to fade the Celtics in this price range, and it's nothing against Milwaukee. I'm with you on Milwaukee's being bet on all the way. And the Bucks are a team that cares about regular season meetings and cares about regular season games. So I'm not even going to try to talk you out of Milwaukee in this contest. My power rating number came pick 'em here. And if I'm betting pure power rating numbers, I'm supposed to bet the Celtics at +3. I don't bet pure power rating numbers, but I do pay attention to what my numbers say. And my numbers, the markets have the Celtics as being a good notch or two down from where they've been. I'm not convinced that's the case just yet. So I would not be surprised to see Boston give them a game. And this game feels to me like, who executes in the last 2 minutes is going to get the money. I'm certainly not going to try to talk you out of it, Jimmy, but it's not anything that I was even close to making a move on.
And my issue here is the bigs being hurt for the Celtics. And I know Cantor's not tough and they've got guys that can come in, but, I was a big fan of Baines, and so he's gone. Cantor's gone. Theis with an ankle injury. That's my biggest angle there is the injuries to the Celtics front court. And if they were healthy, I wouldn't be making this move.
That makes a ton of sense. And perhaps I've underadjusted for Boston's front court injuries, and that's why my line is different from the market line on that. And it's a handicap that makes a ton of sense, Jimmy. So again, just because it wasn't something that I picked out, that's fine. There's lots of stuff I miss. I have no issues with the Bucks. Milwaukee they are my number one power rated team in the NBA right now, and they're a team that cares about games like this. So no issues whatsoever with your take on Milwaukee. It's just not something that I pulled the trigger on.
I love it. I know we got to get in NCAA, but having you with helping our NBA is so enormous. Just a quick take on my Raptors tonight. They go from 8.5 to, I believe, 9.5 against the Pistons. Casey coming back. Another situation where we're not sure if Jackson's going to be in the lineup, but Griffin we know is out. What do you think of the Raptors here? And also this total. It opened very low and is shot up. It opened at 208. It's up to 210.5, 211 now at Heritage and Bookmaker. Could you just touch on this Raptors-Pistons game for a second?
Sure. I mean, the Pistons, it's one thing to be without Blake Griffin. It's another thing to be without Blake Griffin and Reggie Jackson. When you're playing without your point guard. I'm actually surprised this total's gone up with Detroit playing without their starting point guard. But from a pace standpoint and from a defensive standpoint, the Pistons have had, I'm not going to say big issues, but they're from a defensive standpoint, they're certainly not elite early in the season. Toronto's put up really good defensive numbers early on. From a side standpoint, I lost betting against the Raptors the other night. I had Orlando plus, and that's a game that could have gone either way. The Magic made a run in the fourth quarter, and at the end of the game, Toronto, Lowry was great. He hit 8 straight points and was an absolute difference maker during the last couple of minutes, and the Magic went ice cold from the floor and couldn't hit a shot, which speaks to Toronto's defense during crunch time. But my number here came out a good notch or two shorter. I haven't downgraded the Pistons as much perhaps as the markets have because their level of play has been reasonable, coming off another upset win over Indiana the other night. So, and Casey gets his return trips to Toronto last year. The Pistons seem to bring a decent level of focus. It's not a game that I played. I think there may well be some value on the Raptors. Their end game execution is solid, but my number came a little bit shorter, 6.5, I think, and the market's all the way up to 9. So I won't be laying here with Toronto.
Eric Nisbet agreeing with you, says, yes, Teddy, Suns are the play of the day. And Hal Abrahams has a quick question. And Gas Station Sushi said Blake Griffin is a bad character guy, total cancer. I used to go off on him when he would be at the Just for Laughs Festival in Montreal, partying with all the comics, staying out late. I was like, man. And I used to have the same problem with Chris Bosch when he was in Toronto. He was doing a sketch show at Much Music, and comics would be writing with him all hours in the night, and I was losing my mind. How are we supposed to bet on this team if your best player cares more about writing jokes than he does about winning basketball games? So I hear what you're saying, Gas Station Sushi. Hal Abrahams has a question, Teddy. He says, Teddy, would you play the Bulls first half rather than full game?
No, I wouldn't, and this is why. Twice already, Chicago has had winnable games on the road against lesser opponents and let it get away in the fourth quarter. So I'm expecting in particular, the fourth quarter intensity of the Bulls to be max tonight. So in fact, if I had to pick first half or second half, I think Chicago second half. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out the gate and smack them, but I am expecting that fourth quarter intensity to be on the Bulls side in this one. So that's why I'm more interested in game than I am in first half.
That cap makes so much sense to me because in the Knicks game, and again in the Cavs game here, in the Knicks game, I said, how can we trust this Bulls team to finish on the road as a favorite? And then we just watched them not do it. And I'm backing the New Jersey Devils tonight against the Lightning. We just watched them have a 5-day break and not fire. Now they have another 5-day break right away again. And I think that they've learned from that mistake last time. Why would the Bulls not learn from their mistake this time? You know what? I'm listening, and as Pete Loshak would always say, you have to listen. It's most important to listen. And I think you are right here. They got to be focused after their letdown. I mean, they were dominating that game. They go scoreless over 3:33. They let the Knicks go 15-0 run. I'm going to jump on the Bulls as well. I like that breakdown. And it correlates exactly why I'm backing the Devils. So it's the same. And it was something I was missing. Of course they have to learn from this. Now, I hate their coach, but that doesn't mean they can't learn from this. -2 and -105. That's available at 5 dimes and Heritage. I'm in. Quick, I know we got to get to NCAA football, but what's your expectation of the Cavs now with a coach who is inspiring them and making them excited about playing? What do you think about the Cavs with Beeline moving forward?
I think they're going to be an under team, and I think we're going to make money betting Cleveland under the total when their defense gets there. Bayline's, we talk about the offensive efficiency. His pace is always going to be slow, and his teams always play defense. And we've seen that already from Cleveland, and I expect it to get better and, better as the season progresses. From a straight-up win standpoint, this team's going to win 20 or 25 games. They're not a good basketball team. From a pace standpoint, I think we're going to make some money betting Cleveland under the total. And they may end up being a feisty underdog. I don't know. Not in this price range tonight, though.
And our guy, Prince of the City, has a couple guys questionable for these Bulls. I'm just going to quickly move over to this depth chart. I made the play. I could just take the other side and lose the juice. But, I think that they were embarrassed about what happened. I'm fine. It's Wendell Carter, I guess. I'm guessing. Is it Wendell is probable to play? That's fine. Wendell, they'll need him, and he's probable. And then I guess the next one is Otto Porter, who's gotten off to a tough start. And then I need him shooting probable. They're both probable. Okay, I'm in. I love it, Teddy. Great breakdown, and love it. Okay, so let's move on to NCAA football, and I'd like to start with a couple questions that we didn't get to yesterday. But before I do that, have you made any additions to your card?
I made 2 additions to my card from yesterday. Let me just grab the exact numbers and the exact notes that I got. And although I'll tell you what, the Hawaii 2.5 was a pretty stupid bet. And Ole Miss I could have gotten 20 with. So I'm kind of annoyed with myself for pulling the trigger on that one ahead of time. I played 319 Nebraska minus 2.5. There were a couple of rogue 2.5s out there. I think there still are. We're going to keep betting against Purdue. Adrian Martinez has been upgraded to probable. And this is a spot where I really thought that number was cheap. And the fact that Nebraska's only covered 1 point spread all season, and the fact they lost again last week to Indiana, I love that. If Nebraska's going to be bowl eligible, this is the game they have to win. And I think Nebraska's good enough to be bowl eligible, and I think they're going to take care of business against Purdue. And if Martinez plays, I don't even know how high this number is going to go. It'll be better than 2.5. So again, that's betting number 319 Nebraska. The prevailing number is 3. If you shop around, there were 2.5s out there. And the other one I bet was USC plus 5. Betting number 344. I got there against Oregon. And this is about Oregon's season-long defensive stats and USC's confidence level. The Ducks' season-long defensive stats are through the roof. And yet we've seen the last 2 weeks when they play an offense that can move the football, all of a sudden Oregon's defense looks less than elite. I'll just leave it at that. But their season-long stats are totally elite because they had 5 straight games where they held their opponent to a touchdown or less. And each of those opponents either had injuries or there were all kinds of, each one had their own thing. None of them were good offensively. Now they're facing good offensive teams, being asked to lay prices against good offensive teams with a defense that I don't trust. I think USC's live in that game, and I took the Trojans plus the 5. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I think I'm going to on UCLA, betting number 346 at 6.5. Haven't done it yet, so I don't want to get, the 2 that I played were Nebraska and USC. I may well bet UCLA when we get off air today. That's one that just absolutely caught my eye against a Colorado team I want no part of, and a Bruins team that, remember, we were like last week when I bet Arizona State, I'm like, I don't know, maybe UCLA comes over the second half. What they did against Arizona State last week is a buy sign, in my opinion. And all the quotes, just like, so in the Bulls, if you read the players' quotes from the Bulls, and I'm not much less interested in coaches' quotes than I am players' quotes in the NBA. And the players' quotes from the Bulls after they blew that game were loud, we're hungry, we're pissed, we're coming out to play next time. And that was part of a big part of what I'm, the rationale to put me on Chicago. The quotes out of UCLA are pretty good right now. The players' quotes, this is a team that struggled early and has found a little bit of momentum, and they could be bet on moving forward. And the markets aren't viewing them that way. Even in this price range, 6.5 is fairly cheap. Haven't pulled the trigger yet. That may well be one that I bet before we get on air tomorrow.
I love it. Great breakdown. And I like it. Okay, we have questions coming in, and I'm copying and pasting them. A question that we didn't get to yesterday, let me get there right now, was From Lockin247, Lockin247 says, seems like, can you ask Teddy about Illinois minus 20.5 at home to Rutgers? Rotation number 329, 330. They open at minus 20. Let me get this total up in Adam here. They open up at minus 20. Now we have minus 20.5. And then from a total perspective, it opened at 49.5. Pinnacle still at 49.5, although there's been a 7-cent move towards the over, but 51 already at bookmaker, 50.5 at other books, still 49.5 at BetOnline as well. Teddy, does Illinois keep rolling? Rutgers, Illinois.
I can't lay it and I can't take it. I mean, this is an easy pass for me. Illinois, where they play? Was it UConn they played it back in week 2 and they were laying 20 on the road? And I remember watching that game and going, Illinois can't be. This is not a team you want to lay points with. The line I were interested in was a dog. When it comes to offensive execution, this is not a team that we trust to march up and down the field and get the ball in the end zone to cover margins like this. And Rutgers got off the schneid last week against a horrific Liberty defense and got their nice feel-good win after 2 blowout losses. But why? And I watched that game. After the game, I'm like, is this a bet on for Rutgers moving forward? I'm like, no, it's not a bet on. They had the right, they faced a defense that was smaller and slower than them, and they were able to make some big plays. Illinois is not a defense that's smaller and slower than them. And Rutgers is not a team I'm interested in putting my hard-earned money on. So it's an easy pass for me.
An easy pass. And thank you, Bricker. I should have done that. My fault. Teddy's plays from Tuesday: Oregon State +6, Boston College +3, Ole Miss +19.5, and then the Hawaii spot that he aforementioned. And then Nebraska -2.5, USC +5, and he may be making a move on UCLA. We will see. And yes, Mally Mal, they're missing 2 enormously important forwards, being the Avalanche there. Okay, we have questions coming in, and let's go with Tommy Bolt. Says, Jimmy, can you ask Teddy about Kansas State coming off that huge win, traveling to Lawrence to take on Kansas? We spoke about this game in detail yesterday, and I can understand why everybody wants to talk about it. We have seen movement, and it's back now. Wow. Okay, so Kansas State opens at 6.5. We saw 5.5s on the board, but now they're back at 6.5s. Teddy, number 2 ranked Kansas State at Kansas.
Hard game. Really is. Fascinating game. I don't have a strong opinion on this one at all. Everyone, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, you just pulled off a big upset. You're gonna struggle the next week. That was the knee-jerk against Illinois last week after they beat Wisconsin, but they found the right team. They had a right team to beat up on. It didn't matter. They were able to have enough focus against a lesser opponent to take care of business. Now, in the Bill Snyder era, this was an extremely one-sided series. Yeah, he made an effort every year to ensure that Kansas State would be the dominant team in the state and that the recruits would want to come to Kansas State. And he took pleasure in running up scores against Kansas and punching in that extra touchdown. And it's no longer the Bill Snyder era. Does Kleiman have that same, we're going to absolutely try to annihilate this team, we will punch in that last touchdown? I don't know. I don't know about that. As for Kansas, we've certainly seen the offense start to click in a way that it hadn't the last couple of weeks. All the JUCO transfers that Les Miles brought in. They've got some playmakers for the Jayhawks. There's still a dicey defensive team at best. I guess if I had to play this, I might look towards the over. I don't know if K-State's defense isn't all that. And the offense, when clicking, can put points up. But from a side standpoint, I really don't know what to expect. And I haven't seen any player quotes from the Wildcats that make me think they're stepping up, they're letting down. I haven't seen a coach's quote from Kleiman saying, we're really focused on this team, or no, we're not, and you're trying to read between the lines. I haven't gotten the information that I would need to make a bet on this game. I haven't seen anything that says, pull the trigger on this here now. So for the time being, it's a pretty easy pass for me. You can make a decent case for both sides. I've made a case for neither. Lean over.
Lean over at this point. That's going to be a very exciting game. Okay, we have questions coming in right now. Here's one from Reese, and it was a very interesting breakdown we had on the show with Drew Martin yesterday. Reese says, I just got here. I don't know if y'all addressed FAU versus Western Kentucky, but would like to know how Teddy feels. And the market move was very interesting in this game. Let me pull it up here somewhere. Where is it? While I'm grabbing this, Teddy, here we go. Florida Atlantic, Western Kentucky. So Western Kentucky opening up as 3-point favorites, and now just a -1 at Pinnacle, a pick 'em at Bovada, 1.5 on the other spots on the board. This total opened up at 49, now at 50.5 at Pinnacle. And you had a great read on Western Kentucky and what they were saying in interviews and how they had a lot of fight in them, and they cashed for us last week. Do we go back to the well with Western Kentucky here, Teddy?
Different role. Now Western Kentucky's laying points and not catching points, and they're coming off. I mean, I'm not going to call it a crushing defeat, but that was a tough loss for them. They scrambled back from that early deficit to tie the game. Thought it was going to OT, and then what was it, a 54-yarder to lose? Was beautiful for us with Western Kentucky plus in our pockets, but obviously for the kids who lost the game, that was a little bit of a heartbreaker. Now they return home. FAU is pretty good, and from a team speed standpoint, I do worry about them being able to put up points against a Hilltopper squad that, offensively they are going to be limited and they remain limited. So, and I respect the sharp money here that's come on the Owls. Plus, I would have to lean in that direction right now. I'm not, I'm not in any rush to bet against Western Kentucky, so it's not anything I'm betting. But if I had to lean here, I would respect the sharp money and the concern about Western Kentucky being able to bounce back and trade points with a team like FAU.
Question coming in from our guy, Gas Station Sushi. Says, Jimmy, ask Teddy, how much does Teddy incorporate the local hometown newspapers into his college football capping?
So I follow a bajillion beat writers on Twitter. And Google News is an incredible tool. All right. We talk about how to find good info. I'll Google News the coach's name and the opposing team name and the other coach's name and the opposing team name, and I'll Google News it. Anything I click, anything that looks of any interest whatsoever, I click. And you spend 15, 20 minutes, a half hour reading through some of these local articles, and you get a real sense of what's going on with the team. So I absolutely look for the local papers, for the beat writers. But even if you don't have all that set up, a Google News search goes a long way. And play around with your keywords, and you can find good, accurate, up-to-date information that can help you every single day. That takes time. Again, I do this full time, which is, I can't even imagine trying to do this with another full-time job or whatever. But if you have as long as you take the time to do it, you will get tremendous dividends from learning who the beat writers are, learning which ones you can trust and which ones you can't, which ones have good info and which don't. All that takes time, but over the course of time, you can build up a pretty powerful network of information that just flows to you off of Twitter if you follow the right guy. So I would absolutely encourage you to do that. Yes, it's good info. It's info you want to have.
We have questions rolling in fast and furious. Teddy, I'm going to start firing them at you. Dog Bry first in the list says, any thoughts on FSU Miami? FSU opening up at 4.5, now 3.5. And Pinnacle's dropped this total down to 45.5. And there's 46.5s everywhere else. Teddy, Miami, Florida State. And let's keep this tight because there's a ton of questions coming in.
Sure. So my gut reaction is looking towards the under in that game. I don't trust either one of these two offenses to put up points in bunches. We can anticipate some field goal from someone going wide right. I would take points before I laid them, but I really don't want any part of Miami. I understand they got past Virginia. Miami's an under team. Their offensive line stinks. Their quarterback play is not good. Their defense is. And Florida State, in many ways, is forgetting that Louisiana Monroe game. The current version of Florida State looks to me to be an under team as well. Lean under. Lean dog.
We have a lean to the dog and the under, and Big Rubin cashing on those Florida State first halves. Maybe that should be I'm going to put some time into that. Maybe that should be a spot that I add. Looking for a number here, and I just got it. Rotation number 325, 326. Richard Lee says, got Indiana minus 11.5. Can you ask about it? Indiana opening up at home against Northwestern, 11.5. It's still there. This total opens up at 46, and now we see 43.5 on the board. Teddy, Northwestern, Indiana.
So, Northwestern gets Hunter Johnson back this week. He had a family situation. Not that Hunter Johnson was any good early in the season, but he's better than what they've been throwing out at QB the last couple of weeks. Johnson's back in practice. I think that's he had a family situation where he left the team. I think his mom was going through chemo or something like that, and he went home. Well, now he's back. And for all the struggles Northwestern has had this year, their defense still hasn't let go of the rope. So I'm not in any rush for to lay this type of price with Indiana against a strong defensive Northwestern team with their QB back. Wildcats are pass, and it's not a game I'm going to play, so it's probably a pass for me.
Probably a pass there. Questions coming in. Next is from Nate Dogg, and I having difficulty finding the rotation number. Maybe you have it memorized, as it is Wednesday. Can you ask Teddy about the Iowa State game? I know you know this team inside and out. Iowa State this weekend?
You know, I was going to ride Iowa State till they lost, and they lost. And now I'm going to look for another team to ride till they lose. I thought the Cyclones were severely undervalued after their 2-2 start. We cashed a couple of tickets with them. We gave a little bit back, and now I'm looking for another team. And it's just that simple. I mean, they're through the course of the season, I'm going to, hey, I'm riding this team. I'm going to ride this team till they lose. Once they lose, okay. I'm not looking for a reason to jump back on them here. I'm not looking for a reason to bet against them. The Cyclones, for me, are a game that I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention to this week. I've run my course with that team for now. Maybe we'll get back to them. But for now, I've run my course with the Cyclones. I got 3 wins and 1 loss, and that's that.
Possibly the most exciting game on the card up next. 15th ranked SMU at number 24 ranked Memphis. The Icon says, does Teddy have any thoughts on Memphis minus 4.5? Well, the first thing is you can't get them at 4.5 anymore. There's 5.5s and 6s on the board. Money being coming in on Memphis fast and furious. This total keeps going up. Open at 70.5 now. It's 72.5 at some books. Teddy, SMU Memphis.
So this game's a baffler to me a little bit. You know, I'm surprised at how much money is coming on Memphis. And at this price, I could only take the undefeated team. I could only think about taking the undefeated team. And I understand that SMU didn't play their best football last week against Houston. They got the win. Okay, they escaped, and last week was last week. You know, and I understand the pressure ratchets as the season goes on and all of that. And you remain undefeated, and it gets harder and harder, and the road games get tougher and tougher. But Memphis feasts on the week. They've certainly gotten better from where they were early in the season. And I'm not taking the Memphis lightly by any stretch of the imagination. But in this price range, I could only take SMU plus. And I understand there's all this sharp money coming on Memphis. Okay, I could still only take SMU plus. This the point spread and current realities don't mesh in my mind, and the struggles against Houston, I think, have given us perhaps a fair bit of value on SMU. The money came against SMU last week too. The wise guys were betting all against them big time, so it's not anything we haven't seen before. Lean Mustangs.
We are not going to be able to get to all the questions, but I have copied and pasted them. So the ones we don't get to, we will open the show up with tomorrow. Let's move on to the next question, and that's from the Icon as well. It's that Oregon USC 343, 344 rotation number. He's wondering if he should make a move on this total going over the number. It opened at 61. Now there's 62s or 62.5s on the board. You think this can get over the total?
Yes, this is my play on USC is a disrespect for Oregon's defense. Therefore, I would expect that if USC does what I think they're going to do, this game should go over the total. No argument with an overplay there.
No argument there. Those are the Icon's questions. Moving down to Justin Bilbo says, I just got Florida at +7 here in Germany. Don't think the Georgia offense will show up. What do you think of him grabbing Florida at +7?
That's the only way to look in that ball game. We might get to the Gators, and you found a +7. That's my buy price on Florida. So as soon as we get off the air, that's one I'll be looking for.
Quickly,
agree wholeheartedly. I'm not laying this price with Georgia.
And the last question we got to go is Barry Block says Air Force worth the -14. I mean, Army is really, really bad and plagued with injuries.
Yeah, I'm not playing the game. It's not a series where I'm comfortable laying 2 touchdowns, and the fact that Army has failed to cover all these games in a row, they haven't lost a whole lot of them by 2 touchdowns. Pass for me.
And there we have a pass. We have more questions that I will get to tomorrow. Teddy covers, man. You are coming in hot today. Thank you for sharing all your hard work with us. These are Teddy's plays so far this week, and he's thinking about making a move and adding UCLA to it. On Tuesday, he gives Oregon State +6, Boston College +3, Ole Miss +19.5, Hawaii -2.5, and then on Wednesday, today, he gave us Nebraska -2.5, USC +5, and we will see tomorrow if he made the move on UCLA. What a treat it is to work with you each and every day here. Follow this man on Twitter, Teddy_covers. Enjoy your Wednesday afternoon, my friend, and can't wait to work with you throughout the rest of the week.
I look forward to it, Jimmy. Good luck tonight, buddy. And good luck to all the low baggers out there in the chat. Thank you so much for making this show as much fun as it is. Appreciate it, guys.